All right, we're back. We are back. Welcome. How we doing? Good morning. Welcome back to the stew. Morning, guys. Back home. Yeah, I'm going to find a new song for the intro. I'm trying to... It's so hard to find royalty-free music. I wish I could just play, like, some music that I like, but then YouTube gets upset. YouTube gets upset. The flight was good. Flight was a little bumpy, but it was good. Thank you, Anna. Welcome back. Levels were spot on yesterday. Yeah, levels were good yesterday. Both directions. Little up, little down. Some shorts off some key rejections. The 53.13 on ES. Then some longs later in the day. So really nice. Why is everyone telling me I look good? I just look orange. I was outside every day. Just got a little bit tan over there. I got to keep it going. I got to step outside every once in a while. ARM was good yesterday. Nice little trade there. Shorts on ES, nice. Orange man. I'm the orange Florida man. Tomato Vince. Doctor. Gym Tan Laundry. GTL. Gym Trade Laundry. Morning. Someone joined? I'm gonna butcher that name. Thon Nugent? I don't know if I can pronounce that, but thank you for supporting the stream. Appreciate that. Yeah, I got a few white hairs. Stress. That is I think it's supposed to be an Enzo. That's an old Lego right there. I like Legos. I used to love Legos. Big Lego guy. Morning, Byron. Last 5 minutes on QQQ Spy. Yeah, a little bit of a pop there in the day. On or was it? Yeah, I mean, similar to what it did. Similar to what it did on Friday last week. You've been getting it's probably due to some of the MOC, the market on close. Like button disappears after you click it now. Does it actually? Morning, guys. We are back. What stress do you have? Trading stressful, man. When you're actually trading your own money and you're actually trading, it's stressful. Get some kids. Yeah, we'll see, doctor. Good morning from Jacksonville. Morning, Steven. All right, 8:05. Welcome back, guys. Hope you had a good day yesterday. Nice opportunities. I pretty much held Nvidia all day, had a little ARM scalp, and then maintained my Nvidia trade, which I am happy about. Still looks strong. Held all key levels, which we'll talk about in today's video. So I maintained that. And podcast update, man, that's going to be a long time before that happens, Derek. That was just an idea. It's going to take some infrastructure to get that going, but could be something. The fills, those 185 fills on Berkshire Hathaway, those are probably I don't think anyone's actually going to be filled at that. I saw some people talking about it. It said they were filled at 185, but they actually weren't. There's no way. I know it. We had that idea in the group yesterday. We put some limit orders at like 190 to try to get filled on Berkshire, but you're not actually getting filled on that at that price. It would be nice. You'd be up $600,000 in a second, but yeah, no, I don't think they'll be letting that happen. All right, so let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys had a good day yesterday. Just pretty chill day for me. I was traveling, and I was very confident with holding Nvidia, and I think it did really well for me. It maintained key levels, so that's really all I'm in right now is that Nvidia swing trade. I still maintain it. We'll see what it does today. I probably need to get out of it here soon. I'm not going to really hold it much further past today. I would prefer not to. Maybe I'll transition into some later dated contracts if I still want to maintain that position. So we'll see about that. But let's get started with the economic calendar here. So here's your economic calendar. Move this over. Get this going. So today we can see. Oh, hold on. I got to get my Demo Pro. My Demo Pro keeps closing on me. Someone said to make sure it opens at startup, which I need to change that. Open it here. Come on now. Where's my Demo Pro at? There we go. All right. So, today, Jolt's 10 o'clock. We'll make sure we keep an eye on that. Jolt's 10 o'clock. Go ahead and pop that over here. You guys can see right here, Jolt's job openings, 10 o'clock today. Let's make sure we're paying attention to that. We'll see if there's any reactions there. That's 30 minutes after open. So, again, be careful, right? Be aware of what positions you're in 30 minutes after open today. That's something to pay attention to there. Tomorrow, non-farm employment change, services PMI, 9:45, 10 o'clock. Thursday, our normal unemployment claims at 8:30. And then we close the week with average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and the unemployment rate. So, normal week on the economic stuff. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing crazy. Today, let's just watch out for 10 o'clock. That's really all I got there. On the earnings side, really nothing that really nothing that stands out to me. Today, after hours, CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike's been pretty weak lately. You could watch that one. Tomorrow, Lululemon, but nothing that's, I think, drastic to really be watching. But if you want to be trading earnings, today is CrowdStrike. All right, let's get it started early. Press that like button for me if you could. Subscribe to the channel. Here we go. So, yesterday, we were talking about the 18,760, right? 18,760. That was our supply level to be careful of, and you can see that is where the downside came in yesterday. 18,760. The rejections definitely showed up there, and we got that early morning downside off that level. Now, the key level yesterday was 18,635, and this was, again, another level that we had marked out on the screen. 18,635 actually presented probably the cleanest downside trade of the day, right? And why did that happen? Well, you can see right here, this was 18,635 from Friday. This was 18,635 from Friday, right? We see there, 18,635. Double top rejection on Friday. Well, yesterday morning, we saw it trying to hold above in the pre-market. So we said, all right, if we stay above that level, we can continue higher. If we break below it, it could cause some weakness on the market. And look at just how pretty that 18,635 rejection was yesterday. So you have this, you have this, you have this, and look at this intraday. This was probably the best trade of the day, right? In terms of price action, you can look at how perfect this little break and retest on the Nasdaq was yesterday, right at our 18,635 level. Bam, right there. So that was it. That was really clean. If you guys took that trade yesterday, congratulations. That was a very clean trade, right? That was a break and retest back under that major level and a very nice follow through for you there on the intraday. So really nice downside there off 18,635 on the Nasdaq. We moved lower. We moved lower into our 18,500, 18,480 level, which was right here. And you can see that's sort of where that downside stopped on the day. So some nice downside opportunities off some key rejection levels, right? Really nice stuff. Later in the day, right, we came back up. We came back up to try to get back above that 18,570, which you can see was our level. It tried to hold here. It did not. It caused downside. Later in the day, came back up into it, saw some rejections. We ended up being able to get back above it, and we squeezed end of day off that 18,570 level. So really nice in terms of the levels that we had on our charts. You can see how the market really respected those levels, right? Right here, respected it there, respected it here, respected it there, respected here, right? So a lot of, if you traded off the levels yesterday, you definitely found some opportunities. Today, we are still under that 18,635, and that's concerning to me. That is definitely a level that we need to be careful of if we're looking for upside today, right? You can see right there, we are still under this level. Under 18,635 is concerning for the continuation to the upside. I think you need to get above this level today to feel like the market can continue higher. You want to see the market get back above that Friday high and this yesterday rejection and this pre-market rejection at 18,635. So for now, that's really where I want to see us above. Until we get above that, until we get a clear hold above that level today, I want to be cautious trading upside because I know that this level right here could be just a failure level and it could cause another downside move. So 18,635, guys, that's definitely a level you want to have on your charts today. That's been a very influential level here, both Friday, yesterday, and even some parts of last week. Another key little spot here looks to be the 18,570, which you guys can see right across your screen is that 20 SMA, right? You can see it's trying its best right now to maintain that zone. You can see right here. I'll turn this green for now. It's like 18,565, like right there. You can see you are starting to push off it right here. But look at what's happened at this level, right? Right there. We had a hold. End of day yesterday, we had a hold. Here in the pre-market, we have a hold at 18,565. And you can see right now as we're on this live stream, over the last 5 minutes, you can see the candle that's coming in off that level again at 18,565. So pretty clear, right? That's definitely a level that you're going to want to see hold for a chance to move higher. That 18,565 has had multiple holds, and you can see right now in the pre-market it is as well. That's also, I would say, that daily 20 SMA, right? Just sort of sitting right there. So pretty clear zone right here, right, to start the day between 635 and 565. You can see it's sort of this very important zone here. I think if you start to see weakness below this level today, you could definitely see that fade, maybe back into that 480, back into that yesterday low. If you push higher, watch out for the rejections at 635, okay? And if you get above 635, that's really where I think it clears up the upside, right? I think above here is really where the upside gets cleared up. And that's probably a trade that I would be very interested in taking if we can get above that level today. Until then, you got to be careful of a little bit of this dance and maybe a little bit of an inside day between that rejection point and above maybe this 565 and that 20 SMA. You got to be careful of sort of this chop that could occur between these two levels. Yeah, there's a little bit of something around this, right? You can see there's a little something around this 520, right? Right in here, this 525. There's a little reactionary, some reactionary moves in here. If we look at this very short term, if we go to yesterday, we can see we had a nice clear reaction there at that 525. And if we go to the pre-market this morning, we can see it's trying to hold that 525, right? So you could keep an eye on that one. I don't think it's as crucial. It's sort of a short-term level. It has some reactions from back here as well. Let me go ahead and extend this to the left. You can see it's sort of faded or sort of maintained this general area, this 525. But for me, if we're under that 20 SMA, I won't really be thinking to long. So I don't really want that level on my chart because even if we do come down to here and we do hold, I'm not going to long into that daily 20 SMA, right? So the daily 20 SMA and this 565 level really is where I want to see us hold above to feel like the market can try to push higher today. And I would think that it could push higher towards that 635, right? Towards that 635. If we fail under this low, if we start to see rejections at the 20 today, I would say you're going to trade back down to that 480, right? Back down to that previous day low is sort of where I think you could trade back down to if you see that weakness off that daily 20 SMA today, which you're sort of just sitting at. All right. So a little bit of a interesting, over the last 3 days, really not much, continuation anywhere. Really just a bunch of up, a bunch of down, intraday volatility for sure, right? Down, up, right? A lot of intraday volatility to catch off some levels. That's really, it looks like a trader's market more than anything. So today, once again, 565, daily 20 SMA. Let's see what happens here today. If we see holds in this area, I would say you target longs into that 635. If you reject 635, look for maybe that downside action. If you get above 635, I say clear for upside, possibly back into that 760, right? Possibly back up in here into that 760. And if we do reject that 565 today and we do see weakness under the 20, I'd say you target downside towards that 480, 500. All right. I want to quickly show you the daily chart because that is sort of important here. And the importance of the daily chart right now, in my opinion, is this. Let me show you what you've seen over the last, I'm going to delete some of these levels. I'm actually going to delete all the levels here. Well, first of all, let's make sure we remember, I'm going to make sure I have this on my charts. The previous all-time high is 18,709 on the daily chart. Let me make sure I have that, 18,709. All right, let's make sure we remember that is our previous all-time high on the daily here. All right, you can see right here, 18,709. But really what I wanted to make you aware of is this sort of action on the daily chart that we've seen over the last 3 trading days. You have seen very aggressive wicks closing the day back above the daily 20, all right? You have seen aggressive wicks, and I'm trying to get this, trying to get you to see this the best you can. I know it's a little bit sloppy, but you can see this blue line, right? Blue line, blue line, blue line. That's the daily 20 SMA. Over the last 3 trading days, you have failed and closed back above it. Failed, closed back above it. Failed, and right now you are still above it. So if this daily chart continues to show these wicks pushing back above this daily 20, my assumption is in the longer term, this is starting to be another one of those daily 20 SMA holds, right? One of these, right? One of these daily 20 SMA holds that just sort of holds this market higher that we've seen consistently. Could be happening again right here, okay? Could be happening again right here. I'd be very focused every single day. What does the daily chart show me at that daily 20 SMA, okay? Make sure you're paying attention to that. Make sure you're understanding what the market is doing at that level. You can see right now, we are attempting to hold once again at that blue line. If we continue to try to push off this on a daily basis, I I think eventually the move is going to be higher. So make sure you're paying attention to that. You're going to see something very similar to that on the S&P 500. I'm about to show you it right now. Well, I'll go to the QQQ first, and let me delete all these levels. The QQQ, right? Remember, we have that 449.34 level. We know what that level is, right? That's our path level. Our path, our previous all-time high is 449.34. That was right here. And you can see the QQQ is still above it. And what else is the QQQ doing on the daily chart? Look at these wicks on the daily chart off that daily 20 SMA. So that's make sure you're paying attention to that daily chart a little bit, understanding what it's doing there. In terms of short-term levels here on the QQQ, let's go ahead and take a look. Yesterday, we had that 456 level. Very clear rejection there yesterday. 456, bam, rejection. We got under that 454.50, rejection. I didn't have this as a level right around this 453, but you can see that was a pretty clear rejection, 453. We failed lower. We came down into our 448. 448 right here. And then that daily 20 SMA held end of day. All right, look at this little curl and hold right there, end of day on the QQQ. So that was very important, end of day, right? End of day, intraday, we rejected the daily 20 right here, had a little bit of downside. We got back above it, pulled back, and we held there. So you can see that daily 20 is still doing its job, especially on the intraday. You can see those reactions. And yesterday, if you saw that QQQ reclaim the daily 20 and decided to long off of it, you had yourself a nice little end-of-day move. So today, that's going to be, again, something that I'm watching. And you can see right now, if we zoom in on this short term, you can see we're sitting right above it again. This should be red. Right there, 452. You can see once again right here, that daily 20, we're sitting above it in the pre-market. So I think this level down here, this previous all-time high at 449.34, and this daily 20 SMA is going to be a major watch if we get downside today. This could still just be that hold level. I'd be paying attention to that. I'd be careful being too bearish if the QQQ is above that daily 20 and is above that previous all-time high. That is trying to get you the best look here. Go to the hourly chart here. So you can see this is your previous all-time high level, 449.34. And you can see over the last 3 trading days, you have maintained it, you failed, reclaimed it, you came back down to it yesterday and held, and today you are opening the day above it, potentially, depending on what happens from here to open. But you can see that blue line continues to try to maintain, and it's maintaining again here in the pre-market. So sort of interesting, right? That previous all-time high, once again, I'll go to the daily chart and show you that 449.34 still looks like a very important level here on the QQQ. That's right here. You can see that right there. And if we go back to our chart in the short term, we can see, zoom in, yesterday we maintained it. Today we're sitting above it. So big watch down there. I really don't want to be that short, right? I don't want to be that aggressive to the short side if we're sitting above this level, because this could just be that level that continues to have this market bounce higher. This zone's sort of sloppy. I don't love that, right? I really don't love how sloppy this zone has been all in here. It's really not that clear for me. Between 452 and 454.50, you can see just sort of these random spots of rejections. Not really anything perfect, just sort of a general rejection in this zone, which is not, I don't love that when I start to get some of those, right? I see a rejection there. I see a rejection a little bit higher there. Some rejections here, right? It's not really off an exact level. It's sort of just this whole general area, which is a little bit tough to read. When I start seeing things like that, I just think about, okay, what's the most important thing here? What's the most important thing to pay attention to? And for me, the most important thing to pay attention to is this level, 449.34, and the blue line that's been sort of maintaining this market towards end of day. That's really the most important thing I'm paying attention to. 452, is something I'll definitely be watching. It might be a little bit higher, like right here. Let me go ahead and move this up a tad. I think it's probably around this 450, 250. That looks to be more of the proper level here, 450, 250. And the reason I say that, 450, 250, is this right here. It's that rejection at 450, 250. It's this low at 450, 250. And it's the Friday double top high at 450, 250. So 450, 250 on the QQQ equals our Nasdaq 18,635. Very clearly, right? 18,635, 18,635, 18,635, 635, 635. 5 reactions at that level over the last 2 trading days. If we go back to the QQQ, we can see it's the exact same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Exact same level, exact same key level to be paying attention to. 450, 250 on the Qs, and on the Nasdaq, 18,635. That's the level that I think you need to clear above to feel like you can start longing the market aggressively, or at least have some confidence on an intraday long. The other thing is, once again, daily 20 SMA is holding, and you can see it here again on the QQQ. All right. ES. All right. So, for me, if I go out to the 4-hour chart here on the ES, there's a very clear, actually, I'm going to go to the hourly chart. There's a very clear level here on the ES that I want to make sure you're aware of. It is 52.75. And this is going to have to be green now because we are above it. 52.75 on the S&P 500 futures, I think, is your most important level of the rest of the week. And here's why. You have this high right here, 52.75. You have this major low at 52.75 back on Thursday of last week. All right, so you know those two. Now let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I'll go to this week, or the last week and a half. Let's zoom in here. And let's take a look at 52.75 over the last few days. 52.75, 52.75, 52.75. And that, I believe, and actually, let me go ahead and show you again. Let me go to the 5-minute and look at yesterday. Look at this. Look what happened on the ES after we failed the 52.75. All right? We tried to hold it intraday yesterday. Once this candle failed it, downside flush, right? Very aggressive. Later in the day, we held above it and we pushed higher. So today, that is going to be extremely important to me, all right? Are we above or are we below 52.75? That's definitely something I'll be paying attention to. If we're above it, I'll be careful of it holding. If we're below it, I'll be looking for that rejection play, possibly back down into that 52.50, which was a very nice hold from yesterday, later day. You can see, right, the 52.50 was key. This was an update we gave yesterday. Watch out for the 52.50. That was very important to see if that ES would hold that level. It surely did. Let me go back and show you where that 52.50 comes from. You can see right here. Let me go to the 30-minute. Zoom out. Right here. So 52.50 was where that ES held yesterday. This was this little hold here and this little key rejection point right there. So that 52.50 was important, and it surely did hold yesterday right there. 52.75. Do we hold above it today? That's important to me. If we're above it, I'd say look for the potential upside. But here's the problem. This is what I'm concerned about. It's that blue line right there, right? It's our 52.85, which we had on our charts yesterday. I just took it off because it's sort of messing with, it's right by that 20. I'll just be able to watch that 20 SMA. So yesterday we had that 52.85 area, right in here, which was very important. You can see, I'll go to the 5-minute chart, and I'll go back to yesterday's action. 52.85 was where that rejection came in, right here, 52.85, right there. That is sort of that 20 SMA, and you can see yesterday we pretty much just failed and rejected the 20 SMA, which caused downside. So today, you have to be careful of that again, right? Even if we hold this 52.75 level, you have to be careful of a push right here into that 20. You can see even in the pre-market today, look at this, all right? Look at how the ES failed that 20 SMA and pushed lower. So I'm cautious here. It's a little bit of a difficult day, right? Because, I may be interested in longing the 75, but I don't have that much opportunity here until I get hit by the 20 SMA. So it's a tough one, right? I really don't like that. I don't love it. It's not great. It's a sort of a no trade zone for me, right? Even anywhere between here just feels a little bit no trade like, right? Because yeah, sure, we are above that 75, which I do like. Like I said, I think that's very important and very key. But I just don't love the confidence of longing into that 20. I don't love the confidence of longing into some of this 5,300 action. You can see like right in here, the 52.98. So you can see right here, right? Rejections 52.98. We have some potential rejections here at 52.98. It's a very tight zone, and it's a very clear consolidation, and I'm a little bit cautious on it. So I'd be a little bit hands-off here today between this 52.75 and this 5,300 area and this 20 SMA. I really don't know what to expect if we're sitting right under that 20. I would just be very focused today on what's happening at that 20 SMA around that 52.85, okay? And I think the clearest move of the day, if the market does start to show some weakness, the clearest move might be a fail under 75 and a general, sort of general understanding that we're rejecting the 20, and then just a downside action under 75, right? Under 75 would probably be one of the cleaner ideas for a short, maybe back into 50, about a 25-point short on the ES there. But I want to stress the importance once again. I do want to stress the importance once again, especially on this 4-hour chart. I want to stress the importance of this level right here, 52.75. I think this is something you want to be aware of, right? Because this is a very major low right there. Look at how aggressively the ES held that low back on Thursday 2 weeks ago. So I would not recommend trying to short if we're above that level today, right? If we are above that 75, I'd be very cautious on the short, right? Because you could even see something like this, right? This could be something that happens today. You could try to short that 20 SMA today. It could come down and then pop right back up, right, off that 75. So for me, it's an if-then statement, right? You guys hear me talk about this. If, right, the if-then statements. If the ES is under 75, which is this level, then I'd be interested in short side, okay? If it's above it, I'm not in love. I'm not in love with it because this could definitely just try to continue to push higher today, all right? So I would want under 75 today if you're looking for short side. I think that could clear it up for you. The SPY is a little bit cleaner, and I want to show you why. Because 525 is without a doubt the crucial level. And that makes it just a little bit cleaner. This might be the right way to read the SPY today. It might be even worth ignoring the ES today. I mean, it's never worth ignoring, but there's just something that's way cleaner on the SPY today, and I'm going to show you right now. That's why the title of the live stream is the most important SPY level of the day, and that is without a doubt, no, hands down, 525. It's very apparent here, and let me show you why. So 525, look at that. 525, look at that. 525, look at that, right? That is huge. You can very clearly see that. That is our 52.75 on the ES. 525, 525, 525. That's very, very clear on the SPY here. What else is 525? It is the 20 SMA, okay? And it is also the level that held late day yesterday to push higher. So that is the same if-then statement for me today. If the SPY is above 525 and is above the daily 20 SMA, there is absolutely no reason to try to short this. There's obviously intraday opportunities, right? There's intraday opportunities. There's a little bit of this, right? A couple of downside action. You absolutely could play it. But sort of that general idea of the market, which I like to make sure I remember, where's the market at? Let me make sure I know in the in the bigger picture, what's the market doing when I'm scalping intraday, I need to know that if the SPY is above 525, I am shorting into a market that could very much hold this level, right? So you need to be aware of that. 525 on the SPY is right here, right? Right there. Right there. It's that previous Thursday low as well, and it is that daily 20. I would say if you see very strong action come off the 525, there is possibly a long to be had off the 525, probably back into the 527 zone, right? If you can get a very clear hold of the 525 today, okay? That's probably, for me, the most important level. 525 SPY, 20 SMA SPY. If I go to the hourly chart, you can see it again right here. 525, 525, 525. Multiple reactions at that level. If you're above it today, I would say the market can continue higher. If you fail below it, you trade back down towards that 523. All right? So 525. That is our level of the day. Keep it and engrave it in your minds. Right there. TOS is frozen. Is it? Am I frozen or is TOS frozen? TOS down. Nice. Love it. Love to see it. Well, TOS is down, I guess. It'll be back. But anyways, 525. Let's keep it on our charts. RTY. Nice rejection yesterday on the Russell. Right back down into demand. So we're right back down into this 2035. So keep an eye on that 2035 on the Russell. That is very clearly our low. And this is very clearly our high. Yesterday, I talked to you guys about this Russell zone, and I just don't like trading in a zone like this, right? You can see that's the Russell. It is in a very clear consolidation zone. It is between the 2125 highs and the 2035 lows. You got about 100 points that's just sort of sitting in between. If you're going to trade the Russell here, you have to long this level and you have to short this level. And that's really all you could do. So I really don't like where the Russell's trading there. Sort of just zone bound. And what did we talk about on the Dow yesterday? We talked about the break and retest rejection of 38,880. And that is pretty much exactly what it did yesterday, which is very clear. So you can see we talked about this 38,880. We talked about this 38,880. And you can see we popped right into that level and rejected. So if the Dow's under 38,880, guys, I think it's still sort of stuck in this zone. Right, you can see right here. You have yourself a zone right here on the Dow between these highs, 38,880, and these lows at 37,800. Right, and so what you have to do here is you have to be patient. You have to wait for us to trade back higher into the rejection point, play the downside. Or you have to wait for us to trade back lower into the demand and play the upside. Getting involved right in the center of this channel is a sort of dart throw, in the dark. It's just sort of, you don't have an edge there. So if you're going to trade the Dow futures, you're going to want to see us pop back into that 38,880 and then see if you can formulate a short entry there. Until then, I do not like trading right in the center of this channel. You got to trade at the extremes in channels. Like, for example, this is somewhere you could potentially set up a long on the Russell today, right? If we do see strength on the market and we do see that small cap strength come in, right, then we definitely could potentially see a Russell long because we are at the demand low. We are at the 2035, right? So is there a potential demand low hold, a long entry down at this low? Very possible. Right, we can see that that's been what the Russell has done over the last, give or take, 2 weeks. And it has done that in the past, right? You can see right here, hold 35, attempt of a hold 35, right here, holding 35. And you can see over the last few weeks, holding 35. So there is a potential play there on the Russell. If you can see strength today, then I would say let's look to see if that 2035 maintains. Okay? All right. Let's press that like button. the Dow, it's 38,880. That is the rejection point right here, right? You can see 38,880, and then really the support is not down till 37.8. And I just don't really like it just sitting in the middle of that channel. Really not interesting. Tesla. So what did Tesla do? Tesla once again did the exact same thing. If you guys paid attention to us yesterday, we were talking about look for the pop and fade of 182, and man, that's something special again. So really nice again on Tesla. 182 fails, 182 fails, 100 SMA. Take your short down into that, off the 182. Very nice trade if you were able to play that channel high fade of 182 on Tesla. Once again, a nice opportunity, and Tesla has been stuck in this channel for way too long. This is terrible. So you can see 182, 100 SMA, rejection, rejection, rejection. Very nice. Levels are respected. And then to the downside, 173. You can see general holds as we push lower into that 173. So right now, as we talk, right, in the live stream, what's the play? Probably upside, right? Probably upside, maybe back up into that 182. I would rather, right? Whether this is right or wrong, just sort of my mentality, I would rather short here than I would long here, just personally, just because of the overall weakness of Tesla. I think it is more lucrative to wait for a pop and short it with more confidence than it is to long the 173, or at least long like the 175, because you're not down at the 173, right? You're still sort of floating above. You're not quite back down to that 173. So if you do long here, you might still need that, right? And so the problem here is if you do long too early and it does need more downside to 173, then you're probably going to get stopped out, and then maybe the next day you're going to see it go straight back up. So if you're going to long, I'd say you really want a big drop into that demand to really give you more risk reward. I'd probably rather wait for it to actually hit 182 for that short side. Nvidia. And so everything's frozen, as you guys are saying, so I don't quite know where Nvidia is trading at the very moment. Maybe I can get, is Trading View now? Is Trading View up? Let's see. Where's Nvidia at on Trading View? I'm not going to use Trading View for our live stream, but Nvidia's at, I think mine's delayed. Maybe not. Is it delayed? Is it at 1147? Yeah, whatever. So, Nvidia. What did Nvidia do yesterday? What were the levels we had? Right? We had 1130, 1120. And man, what a beautiful 1120 yesterday. What a beautiful 1120. Right? We had 1130. We had 1120. And we had the gap fill to 1100. Right? Those were our three ideas. We said, hey, if we hold 1130, possible upside. If we pull back, look for 1120 to create that next entry point. And if we break 1120, then we could trade back down into that 1100 to do that gap fill. Well, Nvidia attempted the 1130 early on. It ended up failing. Where did it come down to? 1120. Perfect hold there. Nice long opportunity off that level. Got back above 1130 and continued higher into end of day. Now, right here, as we speak, look at the 1130 level. That held here in the after hours pre-market, right? We had some downside here pre-market. Look at the 1130 level. So once again, 1130 and 1120 are the two levels that I would continue to look for pullback longs. Pullback longs on Nvidia, as I've been sort of screaming and hollering every day, will continue to be opportunities, and they still are. So 1130 had some long spots. 1120 had some long spots. 1130 here again, long spot. If we drop again into 1130, look for the long. Look for the long off 1120 if we drop again. The only spot that I would say retire the long short term would be a break under 1120. If we do break under 1120, that's where I think you could get the more aggressive downside, and you'll need to wait for an 1100 test, right? So If we do break 1120, that is where I'd say, all right, let's pump the brakes, right, on the longs, and let's let this thing fade to 1100. Then I would look for it again. Today, we'll see if Nvidia wants to do the breakout. I think it's dying for it, to be quite honest. It looks like it's dying to break out here, but we shall see if it can. It's very clear that 1155 is the level that needs to break. Right? We can clearly see that. 1155, 1160, rejection, rejection, rejection. Yesterday, rejection. Can we get through it today? If Nvidia gets through this level, I would assume it's going to be a field day that I would absolutely be watching. So if you can get a nice hold over 1155 here in the future, this is definitely something that I would be watching for upside continuation. So 1155, 1130, 1120, pullback longs are your friends. If you can stay confident, if you can trade with size you're comfortable with, if you're not panicking when you're trading NVIDIA, you can really watch these levels and you can find those long entries. I would continue to watch these. Okay? All right. AMD, pig with makeup, once again, fading move on the push higher. We sort of expected that yesterday. We talked about how I don't love AMD. It's the Tesla of the semiconductors. And it sure as hell lived up to its name yesterday. So AMD, once again, popped higher, rejected the 100 SMA, and faded all day. I do not like AMD being under 164 here today. That is no bueno for AMD, in my opinion. You can see right here, we had previous very important holds at 164. And today, we are under 164. So if we are under 164, guys, on AMD, I'd say there is definitely a reason for weakness, a reason for more downside on this name. The only problem I have with shorting here, right, the only reason I just don't have any interest in shorting here is because you can very clearly see what's happened at the daily 20 SMA over the last 2 trading days, right? If you're short right into this blue line, you are doing the exact opposite of what you should be doing, to be quite honest, right? If you short right into there and short right into there, well, you can see what happened over the last 2 days when you're at that level. So the short was beautiful, right? Shorts are great on pushes into supply, okay? Like we know. We need to understand that. We knew pushes into 169. We knew pushes into 172. Pushes into the 100 SMA. These are great fading spots, right? We look for the fades on the stocks that don't have the strength to hold up. One of them is definitely AMD. The other one's Tesla. So we wait for the pop to fade it. We don't come into the day after a huge fade and say, I'm going to keep shorting this thing into demands, right? So the short's sort of over, right? It in my opinion, it's sort of over, right? If you took AMD puts yesterday, fantastic job. 100 SMA short. Maybe if you could have just said, hey, AMD's back under 169. I'm shorting it now, right? AMD's back under 169, and I'm going to look for the short now. That worked out beautiful as well, right? So it's over. If you want to trade in terms of levels, the risk reward is gone. The only short that I would say is still alive is if you can get a really nasty 164 fade, right? If you can get a really nasty 164 rejection right here and just see this thing die off 164, then maybe you can catch the breakthrough to 20, and maybe you can catch that short side into 158, right? That's possibly still a trade here today if the market gets sort of weak, right? If the market dies on jolts, right, say we have a really aggressive downside on the jolts data, then I'd say, all right, if AMD's under 164, there might be a short there, okay? But I would also say if AMD finds itself back above 164, you better exit that short, right? Because that could reclaim these lows, and that could just be another push back into supply highs, right into that 169, where then we'll look to short it again. So it's just a matter of managing your trades between these levels and having the discipline to understand, right, that, is the stock at a support level? Is it at a rejection spot? And having that discipline and not, overstaying your welcome. Very important here. Let's go to SMCI. SMCI has been ugly. And what did we talk about yesterday? The 800 rejection. Beauty. Absolute beauty. The 800 rejection yesterday was something special. We have it right there. I sort of took it off my charts because I think it's more just like 815 really, but I will show you the 800 level that we had yesterday. Pretty much perfection, man. I mean, look at this 800 yesterday morning. We tried to get above it, wicked lower. We tried to get above it, wicked lower, failed 800, and from there it was just straight down. So really nice stuff on SMCI. 800 fades worked beautifully. I think more than 800, which I'll reiterate why I just said what I did. You can see right here, right? 815. 815, 815, and that 100 SMA, that's really where the fade came in, right? It's really that 100 SMA. It's really that 815 level, I think, on SMCI. That's keeping it lower, right? And you can see just that beautiful downside yesterday. TB, yeah, no TOS. I don't know what's going on, man. Maybe we get to take the day off. Fuck. Sounds nice. All right. So, 815, right? You can see right here. 815, that 100 SMA, keeping SMCI lower. And SMCI, guys, I would not get any big ideas on this stock. I had a few big ideas last week. I lost $1,000 on this thing. And I said, you know what? This thing just does not seem right. I wouldn't get any big ideas on this. This looks like a really sort of fadey move. It looks ugly. It really does not have any strength with the overall semiconductor sector. That's very clear. All right, we have not seen any strength with the semiconductor sector on SMCI. So won't get too many big ideas here on SMCI for that next pop. I think more than anything, SMCI should be coming down to here, right? I think 700 is where it needs to come down to at this point, right? You can see 700, 700, 700. This looks to be the right spot for SMCI to trade back down to. 700 is probably the right spot to maybe get one of those big ideas for a long. That might be the area you wait for. Until then, I would not touch this weakness, not try to long this weakness. Today, 760 is huge, okay? Let me show you why it's huge. It's not just because it's short term. Well, first of all, you can see 760. You can see 760. But let me go back to the 1 hour chart, and let me show you this right here. This 760 is really that level that SMCI a few weeks ago went straight up off of. All right, you guys remember that day. So if we do see 760 fail here, I don't think there's much of any support down to 700. Okay, so 760 today is something I'd watch. If you start to see weakness on the market and start to see weakness on SMCI under 760, this could be a very, very nice downside thing to be watching for. So 760 SMCI, huge level today. TSM, it's been sort of quiet, to be quite honest. Don't love it, right? There are some levels, though. 152, you can see for now is holding. But what are we potentially rejecting? We're going to potentially reject 154, and we absolutely rejected the 156. So 154, 156 rejections, 152 support. Really tight ranges here. You also have the 20 SMA at 152, so I'd be careful getting too aggressive on the short side here. TSM could absolutely just sort of maintain this 152 and this 20 SMA here. That's something I'd be watching. Qualcomm respected our levels to a T yesterday. If you guys were paying attention when we were talking about Qualcomm, this thing respected our levels to a T. 211, 208, 202, 200. Right here. 211, 208, 202, and 200. Right? And look what Qualcomm did yesterday. It held 208, pushed into the 211. Ultimate, beautiful. I don't know why I said ultimate. Just a beautiful rejection of 211, right? Right there, 211. That was one of our key levels that needed to break. You saw we had that alert set there. I guess it didn't get triggered. It must have been a penny away from it. And just a fade off 211 pretty much all day, which was really beautiful. Today, I would look to see if we can maybe get a pop and fade of 208, right? Maybe another pop and fade of 211, or maybe a drop and pop off 202, or maybe you get a drop and pop off 200, right? Let's play the levels, right? Let's play the levels. So 208, 211, 202, and 200. If it's not at one of those levels, right, then we're not trading it. Simple as that. If it's right in the center of these levels, we are not trading it. So let's look to see if we can get a push into one of these levels. That's going to be key. All right. Let's go to ARM. ARM was really nice yesterday off our 126. If you guys saw that yesterday, we had a nice little long off 126 yesterday for a push into 130. That was very clean. Ultimately, it tried to hold that 126, but could not. It ended up failing with some market weakness, pulled back into our 123 level. So 126 is sort of that level I'd like to see ARM maintain above. First of all, let's zoom out real quick and get a general idea of what ARM's doing. I think ARM is potentially, right, this is what you want to see ARM. Let me go ahead and clean this up for just 1 second. Let me give you that larger term idea here, right? This is ARM, right, on the 30-minute chart. And really what you want to see start to form here is this level turning into a higher low, okay? You want to see ARM turn, if you want to get that sort of larger term continuation move on ARM, not just a short-term flag breakout, but sort of that build for that next leg higher, you want to see this previous high turn into a low, right? And you're starting to see it. You're potentially starting to build it, right? So what you're really looking for on ARM, if you want to stay sort of invested in this move, if you want to really just sort of hawk it, you want to continue to see if 123 sort of fights. If 123 continues to fight, eventually that's going to lead to, that thing to continue higher. So 123 is really where you want to see us continue to hold, okay? So right here. Let's continue to watch ARM. Let's see if 123 can continue to maintain above. And if it can, let's continue to possibly look for those longs off that level, because that is a very clear previous high. Now, the other level that I think I would be more comfortable longing is if we can get above 126 and hold above 126. Because right now, we're not quite holding above 126. And the reason why that's important to me is because that is the recent high right here, right? That is this recent high at 126. I would be a little bit more confident if you can hold above 126 as well, all right? But overall, if you zoom out and you sort of think big picture of like the move that's potentially forming, it would be for me that 123 base. Can we start to base above this level? That's something I would start to watch and hawk. ARM, what else? And any semiconductors I want to look at. MU, I'd really not interested. I think that's about all the semis that I'm interested in. So let's move on. Let's go to some of our small cap names. Cava, 86. If it loses 86, it's going to 84. And let's see, maybe it'll, if it can hold 86, let's see what it does here, right? 86. Can it hold that 86 today? We'll see, right? Right here, 86. If it loses that, I think you move to 84. If you lose 84, you're coming back to the daily 20 at 80. All right, those are the levels I'd be watching. So watch 86 today, watch 84, watch 80. If you break under 84, I think you can catch a short to 80, right? Back into that 20 SMA, right? Right there. That might be where Cava wants to come back to, back towards that 80. Very possible. But I would like to see, if I want to see this continue to stay strong, I'd like to see 86 hold, right? I think this is probably either 86 or 84 is really the zone you'd like to see maintain. If it breaks under that 86 or 84, this move might just sort of fade and probably come back down to that $80 level. If you want to wait for strength to come back in before longing this, right? If you're not really interested in longing the pullback, then you need to be over 90, okay? You got to be back over 90. That's very clearly the fail level now. 90, 90, 90. We tried to hold 90 on Friday. We did. After failing back below 90, that's where the weakness started to creep in. So if you want to say, hey, I'll watch this pullback, but I'm not going to long it until some bullish confirmation, the bullish confirmation, guys, is a move back over 90, right? So that's really why I had this alert set here, because I'm not so interested in longing this pullback quite yet, because it still looks like it's weak. I would rather wait for a pop back above 90, that bullish action to come back in, and you guys know you scavenge the longs, right? Yeah, we're getting a little late. I see that. HIMS 20. Meta, very strong move on Meta yesterday. But the problem with Meta, guys, it is strong and it is holding the 20. The problem I have on Meta, it is still right into rejection points, right? 480, 482. You're still right at this rejection highs, right? So what is it paid on Meta? It's paid to long the demand lows. Again, this is very, very consistent with what the market's been doing, right, guys? It pays to long the pullbacks. It pays to not panic when the market's going down. Pay attention to where the demand levels are, right? So it's paid to long Meta off our 453 and above our 463. It's paid to do that. Is it going to pay to long Meta now right into our 480 supply and our 482 supply? Probably not, right? Probably not. It might, but probably not. So be careful up here, right? Meta, be careful at 480, 482. You're probably, you could see some of those rejections again come in. You could look for those shorts up here at 480. That's very possible as well. Watch that 20 SMA. Tesla's tanking. It sure is, yeah. What's happened to Tesla? Yeah, that's not a bad. I could consider that a little bit of a tank. I'll take it. I'll accept that as a tank. Yeah, it's a drop. Let's call it a drop. I wouldn't call it a tank yet, but it's a drop. Is the whole market moving lower? No, not quite. Look at your gap that was formed because TOS was down. I got to head out, guys. I know we didn't go over as many stocks as you may have liked. Let me go over a quick, I know, a little bit of overtime here. Here's the last thing I want to point out to you guys because this is probably one of the cleaner trades that I see today. If the market is weak today, make sure you're watching this, okay? Make sure you're watching this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do one of those fancy create alert with drawing. Crosses below. There we go. So I'm going to get an alert here if Google crosses below this uptrend. This, to me, is a potentially very sexy bear flag. Okay? Very sexy. So watch out for this. If you do see that extreme market weakness, a little bit of a sexy bear flag here to be watching on Google. Same on Amazon. 2 bear flags on 2 underperforming stocks. I don't mind that watch. Okay? 180. You need Amazon to fade a little bit higher into 180 for maybe a potential bear flag as well. So watch those 2. Those are interesting. All right. Time for me to wrap it up here. But once again, let's go over our levels real quick. What did we talk about on the Nasdaq? 18,635, crucial level here. ES 5275 and that daily 20 SMA. And for me, the most important level of the day, guys, is 525 on the SPY. There is no shorting if we're above 525 on the SPY. If we get below it, I like the short side. But that is going to be my line in the sand today. Right there, 525. Line in the sand for me today. All right, guys, if you could, we're over time here. If you could press that like button for me, I'd appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. I got to head out because at this time I'm usually sending stuff to the Discord, so I am late. I apologize for that, guys. Or you guys that are in the chat, I apologize, but I'll try my best to get that going. Thank you, guys. Press that like button, subscribe. I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.